Hello and welcome to Rauta's Indie 5. This time 5 different releases of different styles. So let's go through these 5 different albums. Now, technically speaking, one of them is an MCD split. Let's start with that in alphabetical order. This one is Foedus / Sieluhaaska with the split MCD 5 Wounds into the Flesh of Humanity. The style, Finnish black metal, the very basic way. Now, I guess it would be fair to describe both of these rather young bands, Foedus having one album out, Sieluhaaska even not so much, as basic, grim, Finnish black metal. They're not the rawest of their style, nor they are exactly the grimmest and rawest, and or most clear or melodic or anything like that, but the kind of a basic black metal with energetic tempo, not too fast mind you, but not exactly like Doom either. Both do their riffing rather well, both have kind of a grim sound, but Foedus is definitely more experienced and it shows. Secondly, it's a duo versus Sieluhaaska being a solo project, but both are very fitting in the same split release, having the kind of a very Finnish type of black metal. That is, there is certain amount of melodies included, there is certain amount of rawness, which then again tie together rather nicely. And overall result is something quite enjoyable, but not exactly very memorable. Now, Foedus is technically speaking a side project, and I wouldn't be really surprised if Sieluhaaska wasn't. So they both have more like kind of a leftover feeling from the main bands. Now, be that true or not, there is that feeling nonetheless. Both are definitely good, but Foedus is the winner of this split case. Good stuff nonetheless, and very potential to evolve. Then we have another split, and this is here next in line in alphabetical order because this features a band called Impur as the first band. Comes with 3 different booklets here. I'll show you. The split is named as Three Ways of Death Metal, and that is very description-like name for this kind of a split, which features 3 songs by Impur, a band from Spain, and a couple of Russian bands, Sadistic, Demise, and Unidentified Corpse. All of them are so far quite inexperienced. There are not too many releases by these bands, so none of them are exactly kind of album bands so far, even though some of them have released new material since this split. Now the first band here is this Impur one from Spain, and it's the most grooviest of them all. It has a kind of a very basic death metal sound, but the songs are quite good and showing a lot of potential. Then we got Sadistic, Demise, and Unidentified Corpse, which are more closer to brutal death metal and also a little bit more grindic style, especially the last one. And the further you go into this album, the kind of a poorer it becomes. Unidentified Corpse being very demo-ish, brutal death metal band that isn't exactly interesting. Sadistic one is in the middle of that, but I would say Impur is definitely the only one which has more in that potential. Kind of an easy way to get to know these death metal bands, at least a little bit, but none of them are exactly like wow. But check out if you are into new death metal bands and want to know more. Then we have this Chilean heavy metal band, Lucifers Hammer. This one is a slipcase release, The Trip. 3rd album by the band, so hardly making into Indie 5, but here it is. And this one has gotten some recognition with their quality old school sound. By old school, I mean rather traditional. Now, this could be compared to bands such as Spirit Adrift with the rather basic, almost like American type of heavy metal rather than very British-like. But it's definitely tapping to the old veins with its stuff. Melodic, kind of easy to listen to, almost happy at some points, and good mood heavy metal. This is kind of timeless, even though the production is very much of today. Now, those who have been listening to the band previously and know what to expect probably are comfortable with the Trip album as well. Nothing is exactly new. They are not definitely reinventing the wheel, but rather tapping to the veins of old, which are there to just, you know, give the right kind of a kick in your butt. So if you're into traditional heavy metal, no reason why to skip Lucifers Hammer. But I'll be honest about it, there is nothing overwhelmingly good here. It's just easy to enjoy and like the kind of a driving music, if you will. But beyond that, this probably won't leave huge marks in the pages of history like, yeah, that was the band that totally changed the style in 2021. Nope. Then we have an interesting release from Russia, and what makes this rather interesting are 2 points. First of all, this Russian project are partly sung in Finnish, which is not so much given. Paluu actually means to return or return of something, and that's already one interesting thing, because even though it's coming from Russia, there are lots of Finnish lyrics. However, they are not natively done here, but more like Google translated texts, or it seems like, because they are kind of a broken Finnish, if you know what I mean. So it gets kind of a weird. But what is even more weird in a way is that this is combination of folk metal and melodic death metal. Now, we all know those folk black metal bands, or kind of a pagan black metal bands, that just combine folk metal and black metal, and that is not so uncommon. But when you have death metal combined into folk metal, it gets a little bit weird. But it's not that weird even if you think about it. I mean, it's mostly this kind of a melodic death metal when you have with which you have these kind of folk instruments, even clean vocals and that, on top of some kind of a roar, growliness and all that stuff. And when you have all that combined, it kind of starts to make sense. But it's not your typical one, and that makes this rather fascinating. However, there is this strong bedroom black metal kind of a feeling, with the exception that it's being death metal combined with folk metal. So it's kind of like this one-man project, kind of a lacking budget, and that kind of shows through the whole production. But it's definitely interesting and worth a shot. At least it's something different, which is always a plus. Last, but definitely not least, is a band called Witchcross. And this one is from Denmark. Now everybody knows the Danish big heavy metal ones, Merciful Fate and King Diamond. But Witchcross is actually almost as old, starting in 1982. Angel of Death is still, however, only their third album. Now the thing here is the band existed only for a few years during the 80s when they made their first album, and then they split up. Came back in around 2011 to make their second album in 2013, and now finally 2021 they released their third album. Yes, 2021, so this album is like 1 year late when it comes to reviews. So Angel of Death is much like that Lucifers Hammer release, being the kind of a timeless heavy metal thing, lots of melodies, lots of good mood stuff, but more into the new wave of British heavy metal thing, but with a Danish touch. However, the vocalist is exactly British, so that's why you hear very British English in the vocals. So it's not some accident or weird coincidence that the vocals might remind you of Judas Priest or Iron Maiden and the like, because after all, it is British heavy metal vocalists doing Danish heavy metal in the British heavy metal ways. If that sounds confusing, rest assured this is pretty basic in the 1980s style. Well produced, pretty good songs, and everything flows just nicely. Once again, more on the good and light-hearted ways rather than dark or oppressing or ominous or all that stuff. Now, if you are into traditional heavy metal, there is no excuse, once again, why to skip Witchcross or Lucifers Hammer. In my books, they are pretty equal in terms of style and quality, because it would be hard time for me to pick out only one of these two if I had to pick only one. I don't know why I would have to, but just saying. And they both come in nice slipcase packaging from the same High Roller Records. So definitely the kind of stuff you would spend your time and money with if you are into heavy metal. But if I had to pick the winner personally, from my personal taste on this split, it's the one that I'm holding in my hands. It's the very first one I featured in this review section. So it's definitely this Foedus / Sieluhaaska split, because they're black metal. While it is as traditional in the sense of Finnish black metal style as those two heavy metal bands are into heavy metal sound, it's still something that I got most kicks of. I don't know why I have a hard time putting this booklet back to the place, so fuck it, screw it. Here it is. Take a look at these bands. You will find the description links to their in the description box, so you can start listening and finding more information about it. Not every band has a Bandcamp site, but you will find some of these on your favorite streaming services, including Spotify, YouTube, or whatever, or just use the Bandcamp sites when you can or need, or there's no other way finding the music. So check it out, whatever pleases you the most, and give it a listen. And once again, if you like something, go and show your support through social media pages and or buying the album from the bands or labels themselves. And this is Rauta. Should you have any comments or questions regarding the releases, let me know. See you soon with more reviews coming away.